Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Welcome to my video on how to use the multiple mode function in Microsoft Excel. So I have here fictitious data to the left of this worksheet. There are 60 scores. The lowest score is 30 and the highest score is 70. Now the mode is the value that appears the most frequently in a distribution of scores. So typically we would calculate the mode in Excel using the MODE.SNGL function. So SNGL, and then we would select the array. Right? So that would be this range all the way from B2 through D21, all 60 values. Now you can see it returns 62. 62 appears 3 times. However, so does 67, 68, 70, 52, 51, 50. So in this instance, the MODE.SNGL is not very helpful because we have several modes and not just one, and it chose to return 62. Let's say we go into this data set and we can see that, as I mentioned, 52 appears 3 times. So I'm going to change one of the 51s to 52. Now, of course, it will return 52 because there are 4 instances of 52. The value 52 appears 4 times in this distribution. So again, I'll return this back to 51, so we have multiple modes. And we realize that MODE.SNGL is not going to work for us here. So we have multiple modes. Let's try out the MODE.MULT, multiple mode. Now it's important to understand with this function that it can't be entered into one cell as I'm doing here because it's an array function. But I want to show you what will happen. So if you select all the values we selected before, you still get the value 62. That's because the multimodal function is designed to be entered as an array. So we don't know, well we do because I've counted them, but let's say we don't know how many modes there are in this distribution. Well, I'll play it safe, so let's assume, let's go to 10 possible modes. So you'd select 10 cells and you would select them in one column as I've done here. And then equal sign MODE.MULT, and then you select the entire range. And before you exit this, like before hitting enter, what you actually want to hit is Control-Shift-Enter. So you don't want to press enter. You want to press Control-Shift-Enter all at the same time. That'll enter this function in all these cells, F2 through F11, as an array. So Control-Shift-Enter, and I'll center all these up. So you can see that there's these little brackets at the beginning, at the end and the beginning of the function. And that tells you this is an array function. It's entered as an array. So now you can see that we have all the modes listed: 62, 50, 67, 51, 68, 52, and 70. So that all of these values appear 3 times. And then you have 3 cells that have the error message in them because you've run out of modes. Well, let's say we create another mode, meaning we create another value that appears 3 times. So let's take this 36 and change it to 37. Now that becomes another mode because it appears 3 times. Now you can see one of the error messages has disappeared and 37 has been added to the list of modes. And if I wanted to add yet another 37 value, I'll replace this 34 with a 37. You can see now all the cells return 37, right? Because it appears 4 times and appears every time here. So this is now a unimodal distribution instead of a multimodal distribution. It has just one mode. So I'll return that value to 34. And you can see this is dynamic, so as you make changes to the range, the multiple mode function will adapt. Now I want to show you another useful metric you can calculate. I'm going to label this column as mode. This column contains all the modes we just calculated. Sometimes it's useful to also have a count to kind of double check how many times the score has appeared, or to find out if you don't know. And we'll call this count. And I'll center this. So in Excel there's a function named COUNTIF that can produce a count for us, the number of times this mode appears in the data set. Right? So it's equal sign COUNTIF, the same range that we've been using, B2 all the way through D21. And for criteria, for that argument, you just need to put in the mode. So this will be F2. Hit enter. You can see, I'll just center this whole column. You can see that it gives you a count of 3. So the value 62, you know that's a mode, but now you know it appears 3 times. And if you autofill, well, first you want to lock in the range. So we'll go up to the formula bar and F4, press F4 for B2 and D21. That'll make that range absolute, so it will not change as you autofill. And we're going to autofill this all the way down. And you can see that it has a value 3 for every place where it should, every place where the value appears 3 times, and then of course 0 for the NA. So in using the multiple mode function, these count values should all be identical for all the modes that were returned by the function. So again, using that earlier example, if I were to switch to a value that now would appear 4 times, I'll change the value so the value appears 4 times, you can see the count all equals 4. So using this COUNTIF function is a convenient way to check how many times the value appears, how many times the mode appears in the distribution. And of course it's dynamic as well and will update as you make changes. So if this were going to be the actual output you're going to use for, say, a report, you wouldn't want these NA values to be here. So since you know in this case you have 8 modes, you would just select 8 cells and then the function in as an array so that you only get these values returned. So you'll truncate the error values. I hope this video on using the multiple mode function in Excel has been helpful. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to assist you.